I think you're number 3.
Number 3.
So I'm kind of curious, like I'm listening to you guys, and G, you preach this complementary relationship between personal projects and professional, and Evan, Julien, you guys managed to sell your personal work to companies. And Armin, you've moved from professional work over to personal work, and now that's your business. Who is right? Who's the happiest? Let's go with that.
Well, I'm happy. So
Okay.
I'm right in what I'm doing for me and my family and my business.
Yeah, I think it's just to do what feels right for you, I guess.
And like, how important is personal work then? Like, in other words, whether it's in the work that you're doing for other people, or whether it's kind of like your main gig, or you kind of do it on the side, how important is it to actually have that outlet?
I mean, I think there's far too many stories about people that started something on the side because it was something that was personal to them, that just blossomed into something that is now their living. So I think it's as important as you want to make it. You can live fine without it, but if you do it, it just becomes part of what you do and what you are. And as G mentioned, you never know what's going to happen. So it's all about making it happen for yourself first, and then crossing your fingers and hoping for the best.
Could you exist without doing your personal work? Could you just be wholly professional? Or
I think I can exist without doing it. I don't know if I would be happy without it. But in terms of the happiness thing, I feel anxious every day. I feel insecure every day. I self-question all the time, and there's always a tension where it's easy to sit down in front of the television and watch Walking Dead, and with a glass of wine, and then once you really push yourself and sit in front of the computer and start doing the work, and the fun comes. But there's always it's always a struggle for me.
I think that happens, like, obviously in my own work, and probably for a lot of people here, ideas are nothing and doing is everything. Everyone has all these ideas, and you can convince yourself probably you're limited by time, or they're limited by resources. What advice would you give people to be able to push through some of that stuff? Because it is hard to start up that stuff. Is it what you guys do, which is find a way to integrate it into your everyday work, or is there something else?
I think it's just to quit what's in the way, maybe, like I just remember in 2007, the day I had my first solo painting exhibition, and the day I got it, I went and quit my job, and it was the last time I had a boss in my life, and I think it was the scariest and happiest day, like, in my career. And it's just like grab everything you can and just like go there, because I think personal project, maybe they're not driven by happiness, but they're driven by passion. And
when I hear you guys talk about fun being such a determining factor, I do think that, like, it happens a lot that's the initial appeal, but as you've alluded to, and obviously in your everyday life now, the fun can get reduced when you add a bunch of layers to it, whether it's deadlines or project management or the process behind it. Like, how do we preserve that fun when we're taking on projects that maybe are not kind of a 2-minute thing, but require an investment?
Well, I think part of it is listening to your, that obsession. Like, the thing with the Sons of Anarchy poster, it was just like something I really wanted to do. And then when I got into it, it was a lot of hours. At some point I thought, like, this 30 hours that I just spent on this week could have gone to something that is surely going to pay, that my wife approves of. My wife approved of the Sons of Anarchy poster, where she was sort of like, are you done yet? Are you done yet?
Right.
And it was like really, really hard at a certain point, but I think it's just remember, and there's a point where, like, this is not fun. Like, moving all those vector lines, 1 pixel here, 1 pixel there, at some point you're like, it's horrible stuff. But remembering that you're doing this for a personal reason, I think that's what keeps you going. And it's just about proving to yourself that you can get through with it and to do it. And
And does the payoff end up like, does the fun come when you can finally kind of get through some of that hard work and look back and be like, yeah, that was something that I did for myself? Is that how it is with your stuff, G? Is it?
Well, you talk about how you bring the fun into work. Like, do you mean by that like a work, professional work?
I guess I mean either,
Yeah.
because even on the personal side, it feels
Yeah.
like sometimes there's a pretty big investment that you still need to make, right?
Mhm.
So you might have to work through to be able to find the fun that's there.
So, a few years ago, after working 15 years in the professional life, I think I finally came to a conclusion that there's a fundamental difference between the professional work and the personal work. For me, it is that the professional work is not about the work; it's really more about the relationship, and it's about understanding the client's need and really delivering what the client needs. And it's about fostering the trusting relationship between the colleagues and the client. So I put the relationship before the work. And when I'm doing the personal project, for me it's all about the work, and the great relationship forms around that. But when I focus on the relationship first in my professional work, then there's no ego about like having to do great work. It's really about what people need, listening to them, and trying to do the best. So the fun gets defined a little bit differently. I have fun working with some of the best people in the world. And there's no much more fun than that when it comes to relationship. It's horrible when you have an asshole as a boss or a bitch as a client. But if you really foster a great relationship, and if you become a good listener, and they tend to listen to you. So for me, the fun is to trying to make the best out of the experience.
And what about like Julien and Eve?
Yeah.
How do you guys make sure that if you're trying to do all the things that you want to do creatively, but in this business setting, how do you make sure on those projects that you get to actually have that fun that you would have on a personal project?
Well, to me, it's. I really agree on what you just said, and I think we are putting a lot of effort on trying to keep a nice relationship between anyone who's going to work on the project with you, which is something that I think personally is something that I really enjoy, and I become anxious if I'm sitting alone in the office and try to do stuff only for myself, and the fun factor might be not at the same level as when everything is going on and everything is going right, and that the client he give you enough liberty to work ideas, to fail, and just to start over again, and give you confidence. And I'm sure you all know about that. But to me, it's like setting boundaries for personal projects, setting boundaries for commission project. It's just like a way of. It's the same as when you play a game. When you play a game, you have a set of rules. You're dealing with it, and you don't even think about it. You're more like focusing on playing the game inside these sets of rules. And we do the same with the commission project. We're trying to see that as rule and try to do the best we can inside these boundaries, and we enjoy doing it.
And so when I think about someone like you, then with these kind of boundaries and rules, would you? Even though the Sons of Anarchy poster was a true personal project, would you advocate to designers or other people in the creative field to pursue all the stuff that we consider side projects, to pursue that if that's what you're really passionate about, and turn that into your business? Or do you find that now that it's become your business, it's no longer the same thing as it was, and maybe the upside is not as big?
Right, yeah, so I think in our case where the fun things became our business, it's not that they stop being fun, it's just that they attain a certain kind of seriousness to them that makes it, you take less chances. And I think one of the things that I, to clarify when I say fun, it's not like you're sitting there like, woohoo, here we go, we're gonna do a poster today, like you're sitting at your computer, like that's every day. The fun aspect comes in taking a risk, in doing something that no one asks you to do, that there's a certain thrill to setting boundaries and playing that game and making it through. So yeah, I think it loses a little bit of that edge that I think that's what we all react to and thrive on. There's just like wouldn't it be fun if, and playing within whatever rules we come up with. I think that's the fun aspect. That's kind of like a long-term kind of thing.
Right.
It's like, when women give birth to babies, they didn't go like, oh, that was fun,
Right.
but the result, was like, had this bundle of joy that I created. And I'm not equating a poster or a video to a baby, but it's just kind of like you forget about the process in
Right.
a way that you do remember it as fun, but it's just that, my wife is going like, yeah, you try giving birth to like our 9-pound babies.
Yeah, right. King of metaphors. So what does that mean in terms of like payoff? Like when you say you can look back and be like, okay, that's when the fun comes, and you'd be like, oh, I did this for myself or whatever. Can you find that in your professional work as well? Or is personal work the only place that you can really achieve that, whatever, we're calling it fun, but that level of kind of personal satisfaction there? I ask that because for a lot of people, it's tough to, the execution is the difficult part. The idea is the easy part. The execution is difficult. So if you don't feel like you have access to that or haven't found the way to push yourself to do that, you want to be able to find that in your professional work. Is it possible to find the same upside as you guys have potentially? Are you living that dream that you get all of the satisfaction in your professional work?
Well, first of all, it was kind of how to say, un défi.
A challenge.
A challenge. To
I
come
offered,
up
by the
here.
way, to mangle these questions in French, and they said no. Like they
No,
want
it's
to.
fine. Yeah.
It's because they don't understand. So
We want to
Yeah,
we
right.
want to enjoy
Exactly.
being with
Weird.
them for a
Very
little
cool.
15 minutes. But it was kind of a challenge for us to come up on stage here and present, work that we've been doing for clients instead of presenting other stuff that we did, because we obviously do some personal work as well. It's just that we felt a bit betrayed by ourselves, just saying that, yeah, this is the most important thing in our life right now, in our creative mind, and we enjoy more right now. We feel more like ourselves working on these types of projects, and I totally agree with all what these guys say, and we feel the same. It's just that right now this is where we stand, and this is where we get satisfaction.
And I think there comes like, if we're talking about like the real things, there comes a times where you're like 25 and you have and you work, and then at night you do all your personal work and everything, and then suddenly like there's like little children running around and grabbing you at 6 in the morning, and like at night you have to wake up. So you're like, okay, I have one choice. I make my work my personal, like I mix them both together, and of course you lack a little, you lose a little of the fun factor, but I don't know if like fun is good, like you said, but I don't know if that's why like we're doing it. Fun is cool, but that's not why we like.
This is the result, maybe after a lot of sweat and stuff like that. This is what you remember, and this is what we remember from production
you said
as well.
Right.
And I think when I was at Pentagram, and it was all client work, and it was a lot of client work. It's fun, but it's fun in a different way. That it comes in the challenges to work with a client, to how far can you push the client to go in a certain direction.
It's rewarding.
Yeah, it's reward. I think, and one thing about graphic design or web design is that you get to learn about other industries working with clients, and I think that's really fun. I mean, going to a client meeting for the first time and getting to hear about their business, even if it's selling and making paper clips, there's something fascinating about that. And if that factory is in the middle of nowhere, Montana, you go there and it's like this huge factory that makes clips, and you're like fascinated by it. I think that's really fun, and that's really enlightening, and your job allows you to see things that you wouldn't see on your own, or just selling Starbucks or whatever. So I think there's this fun aspect to work that it's still there, that it just gets lost in the day-to-day routine and the kind of like the petty challenges that come up.
And G, do you feel the same thing? In other words, like, is the opportunity there on the professional side as well? Because when I listen to you talk, and previously as well, I feel like you absolutely have this need to be able to do this personal work. It's not something that maybe you can find in the professional work. Is that fair to say, or do you think it's possible to find it
No,
professionally?
I think it's possible, and I know several people who find a lot of joy doing their professional jobs. You know, I have friends in agency and design world, which seem to really enjoy. A lot of them get jaded after a while because I think they wanna do something. You know, they wanna do something positive. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if the state of the world that we live in today, where the social inequality is growing, and there is so much violence, and the environment is messed up. So I feel like more and more people want to do something actually positive, and I think you can't often find that doing professional projects because you're trying to sell something in the end. So I see a lot of friends who are actually trying to do something outside because they feel a little bit jaded and they want to make a difference in the real world.
So if that's true, I mean, I think that probably resonates with a lot of people here and the goals that they have outside of professional work. Where, you decided finally to do the Sons of Anarchy poster. You guys obviously have these personal projects that we didn't learn about, but you guys do spend some time on it. And G, you have insomnia. So where do you find the time? Or I shouldn't say where do you find the time. What would you recommend to people in terms of turning the idea into execution? What are the things that you need to do? Some of which I guess is guidelines like setting some limitations and budget, time, process, that kind of thing. What are the things that would help you push through turning an idea into an actual execution on the side?
I think finding time is impossible. You have to make time. You have to say every day or every Wednesday, 1 hour, no matter what. It's just about making it a routine. Time is just an excuse.
Right.
So you have to just commit to it.
Same thing?
Same,
Yeah.
exactly. There's no magic. There's no. I wouldn't give any advice on that. It's just like taking time to. It's like you need to do exercise as a human being. Then you spend 1 hour at the gym every week. Well, do the same with your mind, and just, jump into the projects that you really want to do as a personal one.
And do you do the same thing, G? You book off time and kind of like make sure that it's part of a habit, or is it more sporadic than that?
Yeah, I think I agree with Armin in that you have to make time. And, the way I explain it is when it's fun, you can always find time for it, right? If you're single and, hot girls want to go out with you, although you're busy, you can always find time to it. You're gonna find time to go watch a movie, because it's fun. So I think you make time because it's fun. But I think another thing for me is importance of shipping things. It's not only just creating, because that could never end. And I know a lot of students and professionals who are terrified about shipping something because they feel insecure. It could always be better. They're afraid about the feedback, negative feedback they may get. So, and I've shipped things that I thought, oh my God, this is an amazing project, and I get no response, and it's frustrating. So for me, it's really about shipping as many things as possible, and some things will be picked up, some things won't be picked up. But I think it's just joy of I just create something, I shipped it, I'm gonna move on to something else, and a project that gets dormant for 20 years gets to the top of the Reddit sometime. You never know.
Yeah,
so the shipping for me is a huge component, just shipping it.
Cool. So that's almost like in the beginning, making sure that you have the end goal in mind. In other words, what you're going to actually put out there, forget about, trying to imagine 20 years down the future, just now.
Absolutely,
yeah. I think that's perfect advice to end on. So I just want to say thanks again to G. Lee, Julien Vallée, ValléeDuhamel, and obviously Armin Vit. Thanks everyone for coming. See you next time.